Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for inviting me here on the prestigious TEDx stage. And a huge congratulations to Owen and the full crew who has pulled this day off, because I know it's not an easy thing to do. I'm honored to be with you at this time in your life, in this place that we live, to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. My name is Amy Critchett, and I'm the founder and CEO of Art+Audience. Art+Audience is a startup that soon will be a platform that is all about creating opportunities for artists, art entities, and those who appreciate the arts in a new and exciting way, because as one of my fellow speakers mentioned about how talent is prevalent, the importance to have opportunity associated with that talent is key. But before we talk about that, what I wanted to share with you is a little bit about my story and my relationship with art. All of us have a different perspective of what art is. There's all different types of art in the world around us. I'm particularly passionate about public art. I was fortunate enough to be raised in Petaluma, California, which is just north of the bridge, about 40 miles in Sonoma County, and was raised in the 70s in a family that really appreciated doing interesting experiences. As a young girl, I had 3 older brothers. One night, my mom took us all out of bed at about midnight and said, "We're going to go see a movie." And we went and saw the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. And that left a lasting impression on my young mind about the way the world looked, the way cinema was created, and certainly the way that I looked at the opportunity to paint the world around me. On another night, my mom said, "Okay, kids, we're getting in the car and we're going to go see a fence." So I had the reason why I have this slide is because I had this vision of the Magical Mystery Tour, and I thought that this fence that we were going to see, this big fence, as she called it, was going to be this multicolored, fabulous, wood-painted fence. Instead, what I had the opportunity to see is now a piece of renowned public art in the history of public art called the Running Fence. The Running Fence was about 25 miles long. It was on view for only 14 days. It was 18 feet tall. And as a young girl in 1976, in the Volkswagen bus with my 3 stinky brothers on a really foggy night, we drove the entire route of Christo and Jean-Claude's Running Fence. That night changed me because it was an experience that I was able to see something from a different perspective and wonder what it would be like to create that sort of awe-inspiring, just because it makes sense and because you have a dream, art. So several years later, many years later, I was approached with an opportunity. That opportunity was to look at this bridge, which is the Bay Bridge, which connects San Francisco to Treasure Island, and then Treasure Island to the East Bay, and think about how we would use that bridge as a substrate to create a piece of art. This bridge is about 2.5 miles long. It's about 500 feet high. The person who thought of this idea, my colleague named Ben Davis, was able to have conversations with folks in the state of California at a high enough level to be able to make this potential. From there, I came on as the executive producer of the Bay Lights, and with the help of thousands of people and by raising many, many millions of dollars, we created a piece that's called the Bay Lights. I don't know how many of you have actually seen the Bay Lights? Awesome. As you may recall, the Bay Lights was live for 2 years. And the reason why it was live for 2 years is I was able to get a permit from the state of California through Caltrans for just 2 years. A, we didn't know if it would be successful. B, the technology was a little crazy. And C, Caltrans has to obtain maintenance on the bridge. So we knew that we needed to take the piece down after its initial 2 years. But I'll take a few minutes to show you what it took to make the Bay Lights happen. First and foremost, at the center of it all is the artist. So I have the honor of working with a really incredible and world-renowned artist named Leo Villareal. Here we see Leo literally programming the Bay Lights from a laptop on the Embarcadero. His work is incredible, and it is in collections and public places all around the world. And to have his artistry on this massive bridge in our backyard is and has been an absolute gift. One of the first things that we needed to do was to articulate the dream visually. So this rendering right here is actually a 3D rendering that Leo did in 2011. And if you've seen the Bay Lights, it's astonishingly close to what we actually ended up building. It was this rendering that I used in meetings with Caltrans, with funders, with my team, doing the tap dance, talking about there's a bridge, we'll put some lights on it, hopefully this is what it looks like. And it actually did. This was a game changer. The other aspect of taking on a project like this is actually the physicality of the bridge itself. I mentioned it's 500 feet high. I've actually been to the top of it, and it's quite intense. The piece itself is a combination of 25,000 network LED lights. There's over 100,000 feet of cable. You can imagine, we basically created a video screen on the bridge. So each light has data and has power that needs to run to it. And what it took about 6 months initially to install the lights, and then it took about 3 months to deinstall them. This is a rendering from the electrical engineers that we worked with and the structural engineers that we worked with to figure out how we were going to install the piece. In addition to the lights, there was, in the first run of the Bay Lights, we had over 160 power boxes, and the nights that we would install, we would have our riggers go up to the very top of the cable, and using a series of zip ties and designed bridge clips, we call them, that's how we affixed them to the bridge itself. Through the first 2 years, we found we had some technical challenges. It's a very extreme environment for LED lights to live in. And since then, we have worked with our partners Philips to re-engineer the lights. And so all the lights that Philips sells ongoing have been touched by the experience of being part of the Bay Lights. So getting permits, huge, huge challenge. All the future producers out there in the audience, call me. We can talk about what it means to juggle 3,000 balls simultaneously with different agencies, but no matter what, know that you can do it, because all the people involved ultimately didn't know how to make it happen, but they wanted to make it happen. It also took a huge, huge effort to raise, in our initial lighting of the Bay Lights, it was $8.5 million of private funds. So as you can see, and I hope for those who haven't seen the Bay Lights in person, that after January 30th, you go up to San Francisco and have dinner on the waterfront or go over to Sausalito, because there's so many different vistas that you can see this piece from. It's also really important to think about from the artist's perspective. What the artist did was created a sculpture. This is literally the largest LED contemporary art sculpture in the world. And it never repeats, and you'll never see the same thing twice. I can't wait for it to come back. Actually, tonight we're going to turn it on for just a few minutes at the Exploratorium. So I think this is a magnificent shot because it really shows you the scale that the Bay Lights occupies. Another huge part of creating something like this is thinking about how does this art impact the world around it. So I did all sorts of work with the businesses in the area and the cultural entities in the area, and certainly we had amazing press, which was incredible. All of these are impressions that continue to cultivate the potential of the beauty and the inspiration that hopefully turns each and every one of you who looks at yourselves or looks in yourselves and thinks that you might be an artist one day, that you can do that. We had a film that's gotten all sorts of acclaim, a documentary film about our project called Impossible Light. And I tell you what, if you ever have a film crew following you for 2 years, bring a brush. That was what I forgot. This is just a little video from a live feed that we had every night. I wanted to make sure that those who weren't physically able to see the Bay Lights had an opportunity to spend time with it every night as well. You can imagine social media has exploded around the piece, and it's always very exciting to see how people interact with the art that's around them. Did all sorts of fun experiments with collaborating with other artists to see how they would envision the bay lights, and we use that as a tool to raise money for the project, but also to expand our audience. This was a piece that the artist created as a model. He lives in New York, so he wanted to have some time with the programming of it. So this is a 6-foot by 1-foot mock-up of one of the towers. He ended up making about 20 of those, and we also used those for our fundraising. So I guess long story short about the bay lights, this is me the night that we were turning them off, addressing our crowd, just thanking everybody and encouraging everyone to take a breath, and then come January 30th, we will have them back. And then I think about, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for me as a producer? What does that mean for me and my passion about being and creating art in the world that I love so much? So I have a very deep appreciation for public art, as I mentioned. You all might be more interested in fine art or street art or tattoo art or whatever your form of art is. Think of what I'm about to say from that perspective, because just because I'm a huge fan of massive public art, it doesn't mean that there's not value in the digital arts and there's not value in the way that other artists create their vision and impact the world. Because I really believe that culture is content, and I really believe that us as a world, as an audience, creates enterprise, and that enterprise is vital to support those who have that creative spark. I've been doing a lot of thinking about the music industry and the film industry, also professional sports. If you think about the way that those engines, those industries create opportunity for their artists and for their talent, that's what I want to do around the arts. Retail has it down. Retail knows how to create an experience and lure you in and create a reason for you to interact with the creative elements that inspire you. However, arts sometimes feel rarefied and kind of otherworldly. And also, like a 70s television show, you know, there's one opportunity to see it and then it disappears. I believe that, and that's why I'm starting a company called Art+Audience, that if we create a world that expects art, then we'll create an economy that fuels it. Again, my perspective, I love the unexpected, I love placemaking, I love the idea of using the world around you in an interesting way to spread a message. If you look at nature, for example, there's an understanding about beauty. One has an appetite to see how the beauty and the magnificence of nature can inspire your life. Same with monuments, also with architecture. Well, look at advertising and imagine filling all that space with art. I love what Apple did with their billboards. Did you guys see the iPhone billboards? I think those are brilliant. So Art+Audience is going to I'm going to be commissioning the work of artists, known and unknown, partnering with global brands and creating opportunities for the world to have an experience with art that facilitates that hunger and satisfies that creative urge to be engaged and inspired. Obviously, the digital world has all sorts of ways to create that engagement, and where I think there's a huge opportunity is, let's imagine, I mean, no disrespect, think of a blogger that does like makeup tips or something, right? There's a whole industry around cultivating talent, and that talent cultivates fan bases, and they become known for a specific perspective they have. Well, I want to harness that power and create a way for who I think are the creative heroes of our world, which are the contemporary artists. And also, Joy and I were just talking about this. There's a great opportunity for artists to engage in enterprise and commerce through products and experiment with different ways of meeting their audience where they are.
The fire department's a little upset with us, and we don't want to get into any more trouble than we already are. 1, 2, 3, now!
I think there is an audience to war, especially war of the 20th century, and the audience is the civilian population. There's a sort of a morbid fascination with the effects of warfare. My approach to being an artist in society is that the things that you do should have a really big impact, and it's not a question whether it has necessarily a good impact or a bad impact. It's just art should be imposing itself on as many people as possible.
So that's my husband, and I showed you this bit of a trailer. I'm actually producing a film about his life. Art and different types of art aren't for everyone. My husband has a world following and has created a whole genre around using machinery and cultivating unexpected uses of technologies and, you know, putting in some pretty deep social political satire. Some people love it, some people don't. But more than anything, he as a human knows that every day and every night, as he's thinking about how he's going to have an impact on the world, that his artistry and his perspective is important. And I think this is an opportunity for you all to think about, if you were to be an artist, what would you do? And if you were to be an art appreciator, how would that fit into your life? And also be part of this movement, which is, if you expect art, that means that there will be an economy surrounding art and artists that will create art. And again, I just leave you with the beautiful image of the Bay Lights, and know that because of the work of myself and thousands of other people, you have the opportunity to experience something as magnificent as this and turn it around like I did in a van with my brothers, you know, looking at this crazy white fence, and turn it into a dream that you can also make come true. Thank you.